Coda TV, reconciling humanity to the source. Stay blessed.
So, an employee, there are things that makes the kind of work you are doing mean that you are an employee or you are an independent contractor. For instance, in the case of the level of control when it comes to the work you do, an employee does not have much control over the way you work. You work based on what the employer or what your responsibilities and duties are at work. But an independent contractor has a lot of control over his job and the way he does his job.
Yeah.
How he decides when to go to work. He decides, how he want to work and what time he want to work. But if you're an employee, you cannot decide the time.
No.
So these are when it comes to the level of control. Now the hours of work. The work sets hours on an ongoing basis. The employee work on set hours. For instance, I was telling you a moment ago the number of hours you have to work as a part-timer or as a full-time worker. But with independent contractor, you determine your own work hours.
Yeah.
When it comes to leave entitlement, if you are an independent contractor, you don't have any form of paid leave. But if you are an employee, you may be entitled to paid leave unless you are a casual employee. Because casual employees you are not entitled to leave.
Yeah.
And when it comes to income payments, employees are paid regularly into your account, maybe weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah.
But with independent contractor, you have your own ABN, and when you work, you have to produce invoice to the person who has contracted you to do the work.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And then when it comes to tax and superannuation, income tax and superannuation is taken from your pay on a regular basis for employees.
Yeah.
But with independent contractor, you have to pay your own taxes directly to the Australian Taxation Office.
Yeah.
You also have an ABN, and then you charge your own GST, and usually you pay your own super.
Yeah.
But with every employee, whether you are a casual worker, you are a permanent worker, a full-time worker, a part-time worker, your employer has to pay your super and must pay tax on whatever salary you are receiving.
So super in Ghana is the same as SNET.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So your super, it must be paid. You have to check, and you need to provide the employer with a super account where anytime you are paid your salary, some amount is also paid at super. And this is what the Australian law says. So if you are there and your employer is not paying your superannuation, then I entreat you, speak with your employer, and then if you need help, there is free help at Marrickville, Migrant Employment Legal Service. They can help you, speak to your employer, and the right thing will be done. Now again, with level of risk, if you are an employee, you don't have any financial risk. Your employer is insured on your behalf. There's no risk because your own is to go and work number of hours and then you'll be paid. But if you are an independent contractor, there is financial risk at work because of the work you do. You only work. If you don't work, you are not paid, and then you need to have your own insurance. Now, we want to look at the employment contract and what the contract says. Every worker, before you start to work, you are given a contract. No matter the type of worker you are. Now, a contract of employment should generally include details about the following. Details about the following. So you may go back to look at the contract, that employment letter you were given when you went for the interview, you passed the interview, and the employer says, okay, I want you to come and work for me.
Interestingly, let me just chip this in. When people are looking for the job, the problem we always have is that we kind of get scared, and or let's say we are over anxious for the job.
Yeah, desperate.
So desperate is the right word. People don't even care what is in the contract. We just take it, sign it. Oh, where do you want me to sign? So we flip all the pages at the beginning, run to the end part where the signature is needed. They'll go like sign here, there, and you just scribble the signature there without checking the details. So most of the times, once that is done, job starts. So who cares about what is in there, so long as money comes through? But maybe we may be underpaid. So guys, people, please, when we are given a contract, let's go through it a little. They will not cancel the employment. Let's ask them for time. If you want to sit right there and go through a few of the main things, if what they even told you is what is written in the contract, because sometimes they may tell you something during the verbal interview, but when it comes to documenting things, they will put things that are more than what they said, and you can be liable for suits if you sign that you will do them. So yeah.
My work with the community, there are people who come and ask, he didn't give me any letter. He didn't give me anything to show that I'm a worker. But he told me I can start work on Monday.
Yes.
And work this number of hours on Monday, work this number of hours on Tuesday. But I don't have any letter. So the question is, can a contract be in a written or verbal? Should it be that in your case it was just a verbal? Yes, it's a contract. So employment contract could either be written, it could be oral, or it could be both partly written and partly oral. So should it be that your own is oral, then it's your duty to be able to at least see if what he told you, these 5 things I'm going to talk about, did they apply. You have to look out for these 5 things.
But before you go on, should we depend on verbal contracts? Because someone can say, oh, you can come to work at any time, but when he starts feeling that, oh, he's got even a nephew and needs to do what you've been doing, then they start going like, why were you not here by 8? Why were you not here by 9? Why were you not here by 10? Even though they gave you flexible start time. So is it not safer to always get it on paper?
Yes. So there are some employers who would just say it verbally. A contract is binding.
Yeah.
Whether said verbally or is written. So as employees, if you are given a verbal contract, you see, for the purpose of evidence, it's your right, your duty is to scribble what is said verbally, maybe in a diary, and keep a record of whatever discussion that you've had with your employer, just for evidence. Just for evidence. So generally a written contract of employment is best practice by an employer, and that should be what it should be for the sake of evidence. But in the event that your employer hasn't given you a written contract and it's just a verbal contract, then you need to keep a record. Scribble a record. But then you need to find out if these 5 things apply. 1, you need to find out what type of employment is it. So is it permanent full-time? Is it permanent part-time? Or a casual? This is what you need to know. So you listening to us today, you should ask yourself, the work I do, what kind of employment is it? Am I a casual worker with this organization, or I am a permanent full-time? This is stated from day one. They will tell you that we're giving you a permanent full-time position or a permanent part-time position,
and it's on your contract.
Yes, because the type of employment that you are, or the type of worker you are, will determine what entitlement you deserve or you are supposed to be getting from that organization. And so that's why it's important to know what type of employment you are. You also need to find out what your duties are to work. What are your duties? What that letter or that contract what you are supposed to be doing at that, because most employers will tell you your work states that you're supposed to be doing A and B, but then you go to work and you realize you are not doing A and B, you are rather being forced to do D and E.
Yeah.
And that may bring an issue. So you need to know what the duties are. You need to find out. Then again, you have to find out what are your working hours. What are your working hours? If you are full time, like previously we said, then you're supposed to be working 38 hours per week.
Yeah.
And that will mean that any extra hours that you work must come with a different pay.
Yeah.
So it means that if your work hour is supposed to be 38 hours and you are doing more than 38 hours for the fact that maybe the employer has lack of employees and so you have to do double, then you need to be paid for whatever extra you do. Again, you have to find out what, or the contract must also state the entitlement to leave. The entitlement to leave. So if you are a permanent full-time worker, then you may be entitled to annual leave, sick leave, compassionate leave, carers leave, holidays, because you are a full-time worker.
Yeah.
If you are casual, that's where these leaves may not apply to you. So then you need to know what are your entitlement. Then entitlement to notice of termination. The event that
before you go on, please, let's educate ourselves a bit on when it comes to the leaves. The fact that someone is a casual staff doesn't mean when he's sick he cannot call in sick. Or is there anything, because sometimes for the fear of losing the job, people even go to work sick.
No,
which is not allowed. It's not even acceptable in the system. It is your right, and it's a best practice to even tell your employer that today you don't even feel well. Your employer is happy that you've made him know.
Yes.
Because you become a hazard, and you can rather cause the company more harm than good if you go to work sick. So it's all right to call in sick if you are really sick. The only thing is you can get doctor's certificate and let your employer know that, look, you went to see your GP for A, B, C, D, E reasons, and if you're a good worker, your employer will understand that you are an honest person.
Yes. So when we talk about the entitlement to leave here, we're talking about paid leave. Okay. So if you are a casual worker and you call in sick, you only receive pay for working. Yeah. But the fact that you are sick does not mean you should go to work.
That's right.
You need to call in
sick.
But what happens is that because you are casual, you're not going to be paid for that moment. That's what happens. But with a permanent employee, a permanent full-time or a part-time worker, you're entitled to some amount.
You'll be paid for a certain number of hours every fortnight.
Yes. So that said, we want to go and look at the pay and then the entitlement.
Okay.
Yeah, the pay and the entitlement, the rights of the employees. So with the minimum pay, we said it already, that full-time or part-time permanent employees are entitled to a minimum wage of 20.33 beginning from the 1st of July. Until 1st of July, your minimum wage was 19.84.
That's what you are getting now.
Yes.
But it will change from July.
19 for full or part-time workers. And for casual,
July is tomorrow,
Yes.
I think next 2 days.
So, and for casual, until 1st of July, it was 24.
Yeah.
24.80. That's $24.80. But then that changed from tomorrow. And mainly the casual, it's 25% of the full or part-time worker.
Yeah.
Because you are not entitled to leave, and you don't have certain benefits.
Yeah.
So the government is so generous, they've made that to cover for the and because you are only working when there is job, or maybe when your employer wants you to work based on some hours. And then as a full-time or part-time worker, you are entitled to annual leave, sick leave, carers leave. When you're maybe a relative of yours is sick, if you're a full-time worker, you have the right to say, okay, I need this leave to go and take care of And then also, both workers are entitled to superannuation. I said it. Superannuation should be 9.5% of your wages.
Yeah.
So at every pay, you need to be paid into your super account, superannuation. Some employees also have rights to extra pay. So rights to extra pay above the minimum wage are set by an employee's contract, the award, or the enterprise agreement. So